All right, Kevin, no. Oh, Marcus is here. Very good, Marcus. Thanks for joining. Okay. All right. So topics I've got on the list, recent UI topics, including the header redesign pull request that Jan's working on, contributor summit, active work, some regressions reported, and I had a merged and released topic, but that I haven't had time to fill in. And so those were some of the topics there. Then contributor summit, design library 3, Jan, if you want to spend further time talking that again, Jenkins releases and content security policy. What else needs to be on our agenda?
I'd like to mention there's a very recent PR for grouping in the command palette. If we could just spend like literally a minute on that just to hopefully clarify a small thing.
Great, excellent. Okay, so grouping in the command. And should we put that top of the list then?
Sure.
All right, great, excellent. Okay. Anything else that needs to be added? Okay, then let's go ahead and so Jan, you want me to stop sharing and you can share to talk about the grouping and command palette and then the header redesign?
Yeah, sure. Let me send a request.
Got it?
Sweet. You guys see my screen?
Not yet. So
Okay.
you may have to share again. I just approved the
Okay.
request.
Awesome. All right. So let's do the entire screen.
Yes.
Hopefully you can see that
Now we
now.
see it.
Sweet. All right. So yeah, just a really quick one for this. Got a pull request opened a couple of days ago to add grouping to the command palette. The idea being that it'll make it easier to know what items or what they are basically. So um, previously with the old search UI, you'd just have a list of text, right? We now have icons, so it's easier, but seeing if these groups help as well. So projects are grouped together, nodes are grouped together, users. You can have these top level items. Um, Daniel Beck raised a really good point about folders, right? So currently, it's called projects in the screenshot, but it's now called jobs. Like folders aren't necessarily jobs, right? Like they're folders, right? Um, but it might is it worth still grouping them together underneath a more generic group like items rather than projects or jobs? Sorry if that's horribly worded.
No, I think actually for me at least, the term folder would give
Mhm.
me give me I'm not a designer. Christina is, so she can tell us. But for me, the concept of folder is distinct from job in my use
Mhm.
of Jenkins. Folders are containers where other stuff is found, and it's actually more valuable for me typically to find a folder than to find a specific job because the folder will commonly have multiple branches, right? It's pull
Yeah.
requests or tag builds.
Does folder make sense to you in the context of projects?
Well, in the context of jobs, yes, because there
Yeah.
are jobs and the word
Then,
projects is now replaced with jobs. So
Yeah.
that's already done, right? The screenshot's just out of date.
Yeah.
oh, in that case, I think that should be fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
So
that
so Jan, at least that's my opinion now.
Mhm.
Bruno's a Jenkins user, Chris is a Jenkins user, Mark is certainly a Jenkins user. So don't just rely on my voice. Others, if you want to chime in, now's the time. Particularly if you disagree with Mark, now is really the time to say I disagree. Okay,
Awesome.
so I think we've got consensus then. Good. All right.
Yeah, that's right. So I'll leave it as jobs. Yeah, that's hunky dory.
Can I
That's
suggest one thing if and it doesn't have to be, you don't have to take my suggestion, but
Go for
it's
it.
possible to use a folder icon just because the round icon with something in it denotes a status
Mhm.
otherwise.
Yeah.
Is there a
So
folder
in
icon? And that might just be a little clearer that like you're going into a structure, not an
mhm. So in this case, the it's really this needs to be improved. But the test part of the name is the job. The
okay.
folder and the chevron's just indicating that's the parent. Um, but
Okay.
it's a little weird. So I'd like to improve that. Sweet. So
Okay,
yeah, that was that.
so I was taking notes and I think I lost track. So the idea is, Christina, your idea was if there's a way to use a different icon for folders than job status, which is what's being used for jobs. Was that what you were saying, Christina, or did I
Yeah, but then it's
misunderstand?
kind of an odd case, right? Because test is the job and that is the status for that job.
Well, but no, but
So
okay, but so folder points to test is actually just a job. There isn't a I assume there isn't actually a folder visible in this that's only the folder, Jan.
Uh, yeah. So this where it gets a bit weird. The folder, you kind of see it in this section here. That's the folder, and then the project you see at the very top. Test is the job inside of that folder.
Yes, yes. So Christina, to your feedback, I think folder points to test is saying
yeah,
that's the test job.
yeah.
And for
So
me,
that's
that's
fine.
correct.
Yeah, so that's fine. The iconography is fine.
The iconography on the folder down below, I worry that the search
Yeah,
thing
Yeah.
is not clear.
yeah. Tim raised a pull request for that.
Great.
But I think there was some issues with it. In that how the icon was computed, I think it was killing performance or something crazy. Um, yeah, that's that. I'll crack on to the header if that's okay.
Great. Okay,
Cool,
please.
sweet. So yeah, this was demoed at the last UX SIG, and then also demoed in person, which was fun. Over at the Contributor Summit in Brussels. Um, Thought I'd give a quick update on where we are with that now. So got a pull request. Got some really good feedback from both Marcus and Daniel, so that's really appreciated. If anyone else has any feedback or wants to give it a spin, see if they can try and break it, because probably will be able to quite easily. That's really great. Based on feedback currently, Tim's number one feedback was to make the user icon larger because he really wants to see his little Pokemon nice and big. So that's done. And then there's some feedback around um, the icons in the top right. So I think it was Marcus, correct me if I'm wrong, raised that you could totally have 10 different top level items in
Yeah.
this little part. And that's, yeah, um, completely fair. So we need a way of kind of shifting the lesser used ones away, right? So what we've got currently is it kind of collapses as you resize the window. So on my kind of MacBook screen, I get about 5, 6 icons at most. On an ultra wide, you might get 10, 12, whatever. As you kind of scroll down or resize down, they'll kind of concatenate behind this overflow menu. So they're all still accessible, they're just hidden. Um, and the same is true for breadcrumbs as well. So if I open up go to Manage Jenkins, let's find a long page. Yeah. So say for the system log, you'll see that the breadcrumbs have kind of collapsed, as well as the Jenkins logo as well. So but your Jenkins logo is like your main link, got this overflow menu for Manage Jenkins, then system log, all Jenkins logs. So yeah, trying to make the UI responsive basically, and handle kind of more edge cases where you might have a dozen items or a dozen breadcrumbs all at the same time. So yeah, that's where we're at with the header.
So the header seems to have been, oh, sorry, are you okay if we interrupt? Or do you want to avoid interruptions, Jan?
No, do go for it.
Okay, so on the current header, it's got
Mhm.
a chevron pointing right, and then
Yeah.
on hover, a chevron that points down. Did we lose one of those in this redesign in the sense that it's no longer accessible? I have to go through it a different way, or what's the transition from old to new in that
Yeah.
sense?
So currently, this was a point that Daniel's been commenting on, which has been good. There isn't a menu for these breadcrumbs right now. Want to just get some insight from the community, basically, like, are they useful? Are they used? For me personally, I don't use them, but I know so Daniel does. He's quite an advocate for them. So just getting feedback on that. If they are valuable, that's great. We can get it back in. But it'd be nice to get a better solution than what we have now because they're quite fiddly
Right.
in how
Well, and
things move around.
we've got an open report right now from James Nord and one or two others
Mhm.
saying exactly that, hey, on their Chrome, it doesn't quite work the way it works on Mark Waite's Chrome.
Mhm.
And it really is, we're using the same version of Chrome, but somehow having a different experience.
Mhm. Yeah. So yeah, that's the header. I'm working on a branch now for customizable header plugin. I wanted to demo that today, but I've horribly broken it, so can't do that. But yeah,
What some concerns I have is
Mhm.
with the many icons of the root actions is I'm wondering if they are really needed to be available everywhere.
Mhm.
Especially it can be confusing. For example, when you look, you have the job config history plugin
Mhm.
that's a lot of people have installed. Now you have, if you go to a job, you have on the left side panel a link to the job config
Mhm.
history. And then you have again the job config icon in the header, and that I don't know if that
Mhm.
might be confusing or not, but so I'm wondering if it might make sense to have something like a distinction between a root action that is shown in the header and maybe a root action that is not shown in the header but stays somehow in the side panel.
Mhm. So I
But on
think
the
that
other hand, if the final target is to remove the side panel completely in the future,
Mhm.
then of course this distinction doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I think there should be a way to discern between kind of root actions in the top and in the side panel. You should be able to add actions just for views, in which case they should appear here. To double check that. But yeah, like you said, I think the intention is to try and kill the sidebar in like the dashboard, in kind of jobs and in builds. So hopefully that isn't too much of an issue in the future. But like there's definitely like a transition period where it could be confusing, right? But hopefully like we cut this is the short list, but like on ci.jenkins, it can be quite long. We cut this down to just the most important actions, kind of color code them if need be, have them more prominent, and then kind of relegate lesser used actions to like an overflow menu or something. So hopefully it's not, the iconography isn't kind of conflicting in the two like places.
So
You've
Chris,
got,
go ahead.
so you put your hand up, Christina.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to ask, we've gone through the accessibility pieces in the past. So for the new menu, is it going forward, is new elements like this being keyboard navigable part of kind of the pull request approval, or does that
Um,
be handled separately?
yeah, it's not part of any like approval criteria.
Okay.
And it probably should be.
Yeah.
But like with every new edition, it's all using kind of our new set of components.
Right.
So they're kind of more accessible by default than what we had in the past.
Yeah.
But like I can tab through um, quite nicely.
When
And all is
the menu, the breadcrumbs are open.
yeah, it should be okay. So yeah, you can tab through that. Build history isn't a link, so it just skips that.
Okay.
And yeah, there isn't a way of doing the menu for the user thing, so I'll need to check that. But I'll get that sorted.
There used to be,
Um,
I believe there was a skipped main content.
yeah, so that's right at the
Okay.
start.
Looks good.
Awesome. Yeah. Any other kind of comments or questions?
Well, probably I will post something in your pull request. Maybe some time ago I added those this tech lib library for the header, and maybe we can move some parts which are now directly inside the header content again back to the tech lib. That would allow me to make the header more customizable and reusing those things without having to re-implement them.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll try and get a branch up later for the customizable header. And like be warned, it's really broken. But just to kind of get the kind of conversation going. And like the more customizable we can make this, like the better, really. And the less need for kind of overriding it completely, that would be great.
Yeah, so the branch, I think, changes it to load more from Jenkins core rather than having to copy things in there. A couple more extension points, but so it makes it so the customizable header plugin should have to do less, but still have the same ability it had before. So we got that all working at FOSDEM. So Jan's broken it since, but
Completely broken it.
It was all working quite nicely.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I already noticed, I think, based on your pull request as a customizable header is when you go to the plugins page, when you have you added some sticky stuff for the on the plugins page. There's some sticky stuff, and when you have customizable header, it looks bad right now.
It looks pretty crazy. So for like context, like the top, I don't know, 150 pixels turn into the color of the header. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Did we fix that? I know we looked at it.
Yeah, not yet.
Yeah.
I'll try and get it sorted later.
So
yeah.
One thing too as well, I was like, right now we at CloudBees have like a custom header, right? And I have to look into for the search thing or the search PR that you just the latest version came in. Basically, it broke our header. And looking right now at the one that I'm seeing here, I think I need to rethink completely how we actually implement that. And I will ping you in the PR with my observation if that is okay.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, hopefully this header is more customizable, so it'll hopefully work better for both the plugin and then for CloudBees as well. So if we can get away without replacing the entirety of it, that'll make changes in the future kind of easier. So yeah, that'd be great.
Thank you.
Awesome. I'll stop sharing if that's everything.
All right. Any other well, before you stop sharing, any other questions for Jan? So it feels like great progress and a good place for feedback and you're open to feedback, you're open to insights and discussions, particularly in that particular pull request.
Yep, that's great. I'll probably post it on the community forums as well, just in case people are there that aren't on Git.
Great. Excellent.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I draw specific attention to the lack of the drop downs between program items. I don't just because internally, whenever we've tried to make changes there, people are passionate. So I would like to not have them. I'm an advocate, but
except that the users keep threatening to do things to you that
Yeah, I think most people from a design perspective would like to get rid of them, but there are a select number of very vocal users who have used them a lot.
Yeah, which is Mark Waite. Okay, I'm one of those vocal users, right? So the danger is you've got one of the voices sitting in the room saying, "Oh, wait a sec, where are my drop downs? I love those. Those are my friends." Okay.
It looks great.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Thanks so much. So I'll start sharing mine again and we can. All right. So other topics. So we've talked about, and I didn't take notes during the meeting. I'll try to add some notes here later. So we've got active work that's pending in Jenkins core. Any of these that need further discussion or need to be discussed here? So we've talked about command palette. We've talked about grouping the command palette. We've talked about Jenkins header. Are there any others, Jan or Tim or Marcus, that or Thor that you want to highlight?
There's the details of one. Have you talked about that?
This one here?
I'm not sure if we spoke about it in the last UX SIG. The gist of it is just adding that detailed card. And it's basically a new extension point for developers to add little snippets of information about a build or eventually a job. So for example, we have the date the build was kind of ran at, how long it took. And if you scroll down a touch, we're also kind of highlighting Git information as well now. So you'll see the pull request, you'll see the branch, kind of the commit hash. They'll all be visible and all in kind of same spot on the page. So that's that. It's an experimental feature right now. I think we just need maybe one more reviewer. I have to double check. Two. But yeah, I think it's in relatively good shape.
Yeah. Have you done the PR to SCM API, which is the says
It
that?
was
Ooh.
mentioned here. Where did I see
It's
that?
in the middle,
Yeah.
just up the.
Oh,
Yeah, just a quick question. That's
yeah.
basically the thing that we saw together, right? Where we actually said like, how can we actually move some? All right.
Yep.
So just to recap, people that haven't been in the talks of the commit summit, basically my question had been like, how can we establish like some random extension point that we have for the summary pages, right, where we can actually normally drop this in. The gist was like there is not one-to-one comparison right now. It's basically a migration where, you know, if you want to actually contribute to the widget that we are just seeing, you actually need to implement some Java classes, right? This was, yeah. So, yeah. But I see right now it's like you actually implemented as well linking. So do you extend it a little bit? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you can do links. I think yeah, we wouldn't want like an automatic transition or translation from the existing summary to this, just because this is kind of more specific than the summary, which is very, very overly generic. I think we're trying to keep this just tied to just short snippets / details about the build. But yeah, the GitHub branch source, there is a PR for that. I think it might just need a little bit of tweaking and undrafting as well. But
Yeah, I think,
yeah,
yeah, we talked about. I think there's a extension point there, which probably should be in the SCM plugin.
yeah,
I think.
okay.
yeah.
So this, I love what you've shown here. This is great because this is exactly the kind of information I want. What branch am I on? I'm less critical about the SHA-1, but who did it? Who did it? Was it a trigger? Was it a human being, etc.? How long ago? How long did it wait in queue? And how long did it take? Those are all exactly the kinds of things that I want. So there's nothing missing from Mark Waite's perception anyway of this panel.
But yeah, it's great. So it's just trying to like go for it.
I think there's like some consideration about like where do you put it and stuff, because there's bit like things like where people have graphs and where that console output is, and some people want to have like the full width for the graph. So there's something to think about. How, like, do we just use a card layout or do we stretch everything across? But I think for now it's fine. But as we kind of iterate, we may need to tweak it a bit. But I think it's better to make progress, and it may not necessarily be a card in the future so that we use the space better. But
yeah, so in the top right corner of the console output, I see what looks like an expand icon. So I assume that can go full screen?
It can, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that console output is in now. It's just behind a flag, but you can view that screen now.
Great.
And it's like the basic idea is like we actually was talking about, maybe we can actually create like configurable widget, like you can actually place it to somewhere, right? We haven't made any progress on this, but we talked about it, like this would be like nice to have. like I'm not sure. It's like I think everybody in the call knows portals, like this portal widget we all familiar about. So basically back then in the days, we could actually then arrange those portals, right? And say like, I want to see those and the others not. And I want to have like maybe like a pre-configured like 3 columns versus 2 columns or a full size or whatever. So some more, more interaction with the user and customizing the whole view that we just now seeing. But yeah, that was something we talked about in the summit as well.
Interesting. Okay, so and as you mentioned that, I thought that the warnings plugin or one of its derivatives had something like that. Am I just flawed remembering there? Jan, you're shaking your head yes. So
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
There's a plugin called pull request monitoring plugin that was created by one of Uli's students, which I think is that's probably what you're thinking of.
Okay, all right, right. So it's not write-in warnings. You're right. It was something separate. I thought but it did allow some motion of things on the page somehow.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
I showed it in the summit. I think just
Ah,
to a couple of people. But yeah,
okay. Anything else we need to discuss on the details widget?
I think just if anyone can
Okay.
review it would be good.
Right.
Because I think, yeah, I mean I can improve it, but I think some of the extension point stuff we weren't 100% confident on. I think Daniel's helped a bit on that to sort some of that out, but so why did you do it that way? Well, we don't know. We're just trying to do something that works. The stuff's not really documented. It's just copy from somewhere else, from someone who's done it before.
Right. Good. Okay, thanks. All right, so then let's see, others. Let's go back to this web UI label. Were there any others we needed to discuss here? Oh, Daniel,
Like,
oh, go ahead.
I see that there are some of mine. It's like I'm not sure. It's like there are two, like the your button inspired style and the CSS class. I need to have a look what the ultimate decision is. But it would be like a go or no go. I think more or less in this point of time. But yeah.
Okay. And I assume that Daniel Kramer and others in the UX SIG did not have a discussion about this one at Contributor Summit. He was there, but I suspect this icons for jobs is just being discussed in the pull request itself.
Yeah. We didn't talk about this, but I think there's quite a hearty discussion going on in this PR.
Right. Okay, good. So it's being discussed actively, trying to find, is there a path forward, etc. Great. Okay. All right. I'm going to assume that no mention of any others. Oh, wait a sec. Should this one just be closed?
Yeah, it's not a redesign. It's just I don't know. Made some very minor tweaks that in a
Right.
very risky widget.
Okay, good. So, all right. So I'll look at that one separately after meeting. Thanks. Okay. So next topic for me was there been some regressions, and Marcus, since you're here, I want to thank you personally for your work on those. One came from a change from Vincent Entomba, and that was this one here. Marcus diagnosed it with hardly any useful help from Mark Waite. Thanks, Marcus, very much, and has submitted a pull request that's had the 2 approvers and should merge in less than 24 hours. And then this one for Rebuild and Naginator just arrived today. Marcus, anything you want to share on those 2?
No, it's just smaller bugs here. I think the one with the task configuration was something I introduced when I changed it from the small little pop-up when you click on the Build Now button to have a more visible notification. Just small bugs.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for taking care of them. Thank you very much. And we've got a backport arriving next Wednesday for the next LTS. So I think there's a good chance these will both be included in the next LTS. Any other recent UI topics that you want to discuss? Okay, so next topic for me then was Contributor Summit, and I'm prepping a blog post summarizing the entire Contributor Summit. In the UX SIG portion, I took the recording of Jan. Thanks, by the way, Jan, for letting me record you on my phone. It worked. I was so proud. That the key topics, collaboration, increasing collaboration, Jan, Tim, Thor, Christina, etc., and that the latest code base really does make it easier for us all to collaborate. Design Library 3 is much more visible now. And we're going to be, and Jan, I think this is a good example, you're going to be doing, and others, user experience blog posts like this one that just came out a week or so ago. So thanks very much. Anything else that you want me to include in that UX SIG summary for the blog post?
Okay.
Okay. Design Library 3, anything you want to highlight there, Jan or Tim?
Nothing from me, I don't think. I think we're in a good spot right now. I think it'll just be adding new content as we go along. I do want to kind of raise awareness of it on Jenkins.io. Kind of have a look through like the developer docs and just link it where it makes sense. But that's it really.
I like that. Right. So include in the more reference. I like that very much. Right now, Antoine Naveau has been interested in DocSig in doing better developer documentation in general, and this would be a good fit for that. Another place, Antoine's more about Java backend, but this would give us a place, hey, look, let's talk about front end, and this is how you do front end work. Excellent. Thank you. On Jenkins releases, I don't really have anything particularly special to share there. Yes, we delivered the LTS 2.492.1. That was a week or two ago. We'll deliver a new LTS early in March. And on the content security policy, Michael Windsor joined us for the Contributor Summit. Much appreciated. Phase 1 is complete. Yaroslav, Shlomo, Basil, Bruno, thanks to all of them for their work on it. We don't yet have a response on the phase 2 funding request. So my hunch right now is that we're probably not going to be approved. I wish it were different, but that's what happens with money that comes freely. Sometimes it doesn't come when you want it. Any other topics for today's UX SIG? All right, then let's call ourselves done for the day. Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.